talk. What we dealing with here?
Yeah, so there is a mysterious Nintendo Switch Online test happening next week. We know some information about it. There's only 10,000 people. Only 10,000. Thunderstash, you're me too. Nate?
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Only 10,000 people, which is kind of crazy because when they first announced it, they were like, hey, you have 5 days to sign up. And it was literally like within seconds, it filled up. So all we know is that you have to download an app to participate. The app is a little over 2 gigs. And more info drops on the 20th. And the test begins on the 23rd. So I definitely wanted to go around and get your opinions on what it is. Only 10,000 people, 2 gig app. Kind of interesting. So.
Geeko, let's start with you. What do you think this NSO test thing is?
Oh, I was just thinking, please don't call on me first.
On the spot.
Oh gosh, I don't even know where I would begin with it because the app is what threw me off. Yeah, I'll be completely transparent. I have no idea. I read this earlier, but I was like, I have no idea. But I can always claim that it's baby brain that I'm not thinking clearly.
Yeah, good. I mean, that's a legit claim. Anytime you just had a baby.
Yeah.
All right, Eric, let's go to you. I'm trying to talk all out here because whoever goes first can get all the good ideas.
Yeah.
Missed opportunity.
There's a few different things. I'm hoping that they're just testing out something that they're maybe cohesively bringing all of their NSO to a single app now instead of across the board and a couple different apps. And it's like, why? You can just bring it to one, have some voice chats, things like that in it, and just cohesiveness is what I'm hoping for.
That would be interesting. Now, I thought about social features, because it's 2.2 gigs. It's rather big. I mean, that could be a lot of people go to the GameCube stuff, and it very well could be that. But then they also want you to have a wired internet connection with your Switch. Like, you don't have to. They suggest it, and I'm like, man, if you're suggesting wired internet, that doesn't just feel like local GameCube games. Even when you're doing online, they don't suggest a wired connection for an online Switch game. So why would they suggest it for this? So a lot of bringing things together and adding social features in, local voice chat, messaging services, maybe even some reason they're testing video chat. I don't know why, because they don't have a camera on their system, but maybe it's a feature they're testing for maybe a future system. It could just be really interesting if they kind of bring that all together. One thing I saw a lot of people pushing, and I think this is just a lot of hopium, the return of Miiverse. I mean, that would be sweet. I loved Miiverse. I just don't see Nintendo in 2024, 2025 wanting to moderate a social media platform. But
that's true.
I'm for it if they do it. I liked Miiverse. It was cool. But
yeah, it's also worth noting that Nintendo, the people that are in this don't sign an NDA, but they don't want you talking about it.
Yeah, it's weird.
Which that's gonna last all about a minute. But yeah, a lot of people are saying GameCube, but I don't. Why would they have to test the servers of a GameCube game? That makes they've never done it with N64. They haven't done it with the other systems on there. And then some people are saying social, but the timing of this is the thing that's really throwing me off because we're at the end of the Switch. The Switch is going to be donezo. This is definitely going to coincide with the Switch 2, I think. But what the heck would they have us test so late in the game? I personally think it's a matchmaking thing. I think it's a new way to kind of like a social thing, but it's, for online matchmaking, or it's a game, or it's this new online game. But
what if it is a Nintendo MMO?
That only 10,000 people have access to.
10,000 people who get to play. Yeah, it's a great way to test a game that would have millions of players. But, man, I mean, even with the social feature aspect, I obviously this is something that would be for Switch 2. I think whatever this isn't launching this year, publicly. I think it's going to be a next year thing. I don't know if they're going to rush that out during the holidays, whatever this is. And clearly it's gonna be on Switch too. I want to be very transparent here, guys. We wouldn't be testing it on Switch if it wasn't gonna be on Switch.
Yeah.
But clearly this is with whatever this is, it's with a forward thought that it is thinking towards the future. And it could be GameCube. I don't want to dismiss it. Some people have thought like maybe they're deciding to do streaming services with GameCube where they stream the games instead of having them local because the file sizes are kind of big, to try to keep the app from ballooning to like 20 gigabytes or something. Mm-hmm. And I could understand that. One note about how it could be a streaming thing, although again, if it is streaming, there's not a single streaming app in the world that's 2.2 gigabytes. Like that just throws that for a huge wrench. Like the Xbox One on your phone, like if you download the Xbox app, it's like 130 megabytes and you can stream games on it. So it doesn't make any sense that it would be 2.2 gigabytes. But what I look at it, the one caveat for the streaming thing is Nintendo already works with Google for their voice chat on their phone app. They use Google for that. And Google did close down Stadia, but said it's open season for anyone who wants to use their tech for Stadia. And Stadia's tech worked really, really well. So I could see where maybe Nintendo's testing out this idea of, hey, let's centralize game streaming instead of it being on a billion different things on Switch. Let's centralize that all and set up some sort of streaming service. But
what if it's a combination of both of those though, where they bring all of their current NSO games into one app and then bring GameCube into streaming section of that app? So they explain the size of the app and what they possibly could need testing for.
I did some math in my video and I pointed out when you combine all of the current NSO apps together, it's about 400 megabytes bigger, but with more optimization and everything, it's possible you could narrow that down to 2.2. Then you include streaming. It is. I think there's this pipe dream that I don't know what you guys. I think I'm all for NSO actually all just being a single app instead of having to load separate.
Oh yeah, I'm kind of surprised it isn't.
Yeah. So that's what this could be, and maybe there's a streaming aspect to that. And I bring this up because one thing to note about this, I was reading the fine print, and it sounds like whatever you're testing, it's for expansion pack members. Whatever this is, so it's not for your base users, your $20 a year users. So this is definitely a premium thing, whatever they're trying to offer. So I don't know.
My other theory was, is there a Switch game currently that's 2.2 gigs? Because I'm sure there is, but like maybe it could just be a cloud version and they're just kind of like stress testing it of like a game that's already out, say like Switch Sports or something. They're doing like a cloud version. I don't know why they would do that, but maybe offer that to premium members. Like
that brings me back to the Wii U days when they put the Wii Sports U and it was like split up and online with everything. It was a mess. I don't know what they were doing with that. Stash, what are your thoughts on this stuff?
I got a lot of thoughts. So for starters, the 10,000 participants, right? When can anyone ever remember when Nintendo's done this? Reached out to us, the consumer, the fans, to do something like this. It's always internal with Nintendo. Always.
The only thing close are like the Splatoon tests. They had the ARMS test, but that was open.
That was open, and that was just test fires for games that people already really knew about.
So that right there throws me for a loop. And then, of course, you got the app, 2.2 gigs. Obviously, that's a large app size. So then you got to start wondering some of the things that you mentioned, Nate, as far as bringing in all of the apps into one app. Yeah, that's a possibility. Do we know how big the Game Pass app is?
Oh, the Game Pass app. I actually don't know off the top of my head how big the Game Pass app is.
That is something that I fully expect Microsoft to be releasing their games everywhere.
Sure.
It's a matter of when, not if.
Dude, did they add Game Pass to the premium NSO via streaming?
That could be
right.
I would say that would be sick.
That was what I was thinking as a possibility.
Dude, via streaming on Switch.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things, of course, being talked about, right? a lot of theories thrown out there, and I think a lot of them have weight. One of the other big ones, of course, and Nintendo Talk you mentioned as well, was the GameCube stuff. But then when you take into consideration that other rumor about GameCube controllers being put into production, and then you factor that in with the last Nintendo firmware update disabling GameCube controllers, but no other controllers. Why? Why?
Yeah,
So when
you
you
have to do like a workaround to get them to work.
so when you put it all together, it's like, well, what's going on here? First off, why are GameCube controllers or GameCube specific GameCube parts for a controller? Why are those in production? I mean, why else would they be? You guys probably own some of the NSO controllers. I got like the 64 controller. When that went into production, it came out.
Yeah.
For the N64 games. So I'm like, of course, a lot of people got the email. I got the email for the 3-year anniversary of the expansion pack service. And I signed up for it on day one. I've had it continuously. And as we know, they keep adding to it. And of course, the email said it was going to be next year that they add to it.
Yeah, they kind of tease like stay tuned for more updates to this next year. It's like, and if you read all the other NSO ones, they don't say that at the end.
No, they don't. I went back. I've looked at my other NSO emails that I got every year, about resubscribing and whatnot. So yeah, none of them had that verbiage. And so obviously, you connect that to Switch 2 and it would make sense. Then you got to ask, like, are we testing something for Switch 2 and we don't know it? They're not going to come out and tell us.
No.
So when we do this test on the 23rd, it could be a front for something we're testing for the future and we just don't know. So that was another thing I thought of. It's just very perplexing because they never include the fans, and the fact that they put it behind a gate, right? With, hey, you have to have expansion pack. Oh, and by the way, you have to have it by this date, meaning like you can't sign up for it right now. I don't know if you guys caught that, but it said you had to have NSO by a day before the sign up started. So meaning like, hey, you can't sign up for it right now and then think you can apply. You had to have had it. I'm like, that's interesting. Like, are you rewarding people who've had it? Or you want to make sure like people don't get in that aren't, longtime fans that have been supporting you guys? I thought that was an interesting way to do it. But again, if you're putting it behind the essentially the expansion pack paywall, then it's got to be a service that's going to be most likely only for expansion pack, right? Which, if it was hypothetically Game Pass, they would want that for everybody. That wouldn't be behind a paywall. At least I don't think it would. And then the last thing that we have to kind of bring this all in together with is the fact that we need to, or it's preferred that we connect it with the Ethernet cable. So again, they want to make sure that the internet is working, whatever our internet setup is, it's working as best as it possibly can. And of course, so like, why else would you have a Ethernet, right? We all know it's better connection. It's not going to drop over Wi-Fi. So basically, Nintendo doesn't have to worry about anyone's crappy Wi-Fi setup that they may or may not have, right? They can exclude that from this 10,000 person experiment, right? Is that, hey, hopefully, I forget because I clicked the buttons so fast. I didn't read anything, obviously.
Me too.
I knew somebody would post it online after. But do you have to have it connected by Ethernet, or is it suggested?
I think it's suggested.
Okay.
Yeah, it's suggested. It's not required.
So I'm guessing there will be either they'll be able to see how we're connected, right? Or there will be a survey at the end where we state how we were connected. I would imagine.
I'm sure there'll be some sort of survey at the end of it for
Mhm.
feedback.
So with all that information, with the GameCube stuff, again, the GameCube controller going into production, it's like, okay, is that a piece of it? Is that connected? Is it that and more?
Mhm.
And again, the social stuff, maybe,
GameCube Pro controller, Switch 2, baby.
right?
Thing is, I'm not even a huge fan of the GameCube controller, but the analog triggers, that's nice.
What's the chance they get 10,000 people to sign an NDA or sign something?
No,
Zero.
Zero.
Well, zero and definitely zero that nobody's gonna not say anything, right? We all know that's going to happen.
People are going to be live streaming it publicly. There's going to be videos out like within minutes of the thing going live. Screenshots all over all social media. Like
It's gonna be a stream. Watch me download this.
As people pointed out that like it's not an NDA, and so because it's not a legal NDA, there's actually nothing negative that can happen if you share it.
Just weird they would even say that.
Yeah, like they shouldn't even say it at all. Like Nintendo can't be that naive to think if you just ask nicely, people aren't going to put it out there. We have the Terra leak going on. Okay, that's illegal documents getting out there. You think perfectly legal things aren't going to get out there? I just don't know why they want to hide it. Like they have to know it's not going to stay hidden. Like everyone's going to know. So I just don't know why. The only reason I could think that like maybe they are not just going to say what it is, because why wouldn't they just say it? Because it's going to get out there anyways. What if it's something they're just not sure they're actually going to go forward with? Like,
I mean, it has to be a stress test. So
yeah, has to be a stress test, and maybe they also want some feedback on if it's something that people even want to use. And if it turns out that the answer is no, then maybe it's just something that never actually comes out. That's one thing I was thinking about with if it happens to be streaming related. Well, not everyone really likes that. And if the feedback is, yeah, fuck this, and it's like 9,000 to the 10,000 that tells Nintendo we don't want this, they might go, all right, well, then I guess scrap that idea. But it feels weird, though, because if it's at the point they're willing to let 10,000 people from the public in, it's pretty far along to just be like, let's scrap that,
Yeah.
But then just announce it.
I don't expect whatever we're doing to get scrapped because of what you said, though, because I do believe it's that far along.
Yeah.
It's got to be Switch 2 related. That's the only thing I could think of is like they don't want to officially announce it because it will be announced with Switch 2.
Well, yeah, and we'll get into that probably more in the show because a good part of me thinks that we're going to see Switch 2 before this.
Or before the 23rd?
Yeah.
So Tuesday?
Wow.
Soon.
You're like, it's Friday this week.
Also the weird thing is 10,000 people is not a lot. So I wonder if they're going to have like set times throughout the week, like this 2-hour period or this 2-hour period on one day.
Because they said more details on the 20th, and that could be what it is. Like maybe it's not fully available.
That's not 10,000 overall, though, right? It's 10,000 just in the United States, plus whatever they have in Japan, plus whatever they have in Europe, right? It's not just 10,000 people, right?
Yeah.
I'm not actually sure. I got rejected, so I don't know.
Yeah, is that right? Because I mean, you're bringing an interesting point because that would be good information to know. Again, I just clicked it so fast.
Yeah, well, you had to.
Yeah. It's like trying to buy PS5 when it went up for sale.
Yeah.
You're just rapidly going through everything and hoping you get in.
Yeah. Because I mean, even if it's more than 10,000, let's say it's like 50,000, I could see where like Nintendo wants to lock it in for like certain times if it is a stress test. Like if that's what it is. If it's just we want feedback from enough people because we don't, internally we think this is great, but we want to get some public reaction. Okay, fine. Then you just let people do it whenever. But if it's specifically a stress test, then usually they'll want to narrow it down to like certain hours of the day to kind of force as many people to get on it at once. But even then, like that's what they were doing with like the test fires with Splatoon and stuff. It would only be at certain hours so they could force as many people at the server at once. I just don't think like you're talking about 50,000 people. Okay. We're talking about like Nintendo Switch has 140 million install base with 129 million active users. I know that won't be their day one on Switch, but Switch 2, but it's kind of like 50,000 is not much of a stress test, depending on what this is. You could have millions trying to use this thing at once.
Yeah, Andrew in the chat says, I heard it's 10K for all regions, excluding Japan. I know Japan had like a lottery system or something.
Yeah, they did a lottery.
So, I mean, could be 20 total, which is crazy that 2 people here got it.
Yeah, dude, that's crazy. 2 people here got it. By the way, shout out to Max Not Cool in the chat, the supposed Nintendo employee. He's not. He has he runs the Nintendo Switch 2 Reddit. And they put up a conspiracy theory about how he works for Nintendo. It was hilarious. Anyway, this obviously next week, guys, we'll know what it is and be able to talk about it to a degree. I'm sure we'll be able to talk about it entirely. I'm sure this thing's going to be all over the internet, so I'm not really too worried about heading into the next podcast and being like, all right, Thunder Session Nintendo Talk. It hasn't leaked. You guys want to blow the load? Like,
right?
It's not, but it does, I don't think we're going to have to worry about that. There's so many people. Like, I'm just as an example. In my DMs on X, I have had because I put up a thing saying, oh, I didn't get in. I've had over 100 people reach out to me, be like, hey, you want me to tell you everything about this? I'm like, okay, well, if you're just so willing to reach out to someone you don't know to do that, it's going to be all over the internet. Like, it's going to be everywhere.
Yeah.
It'll happen on like the day of the podcast.
The 20th, we'll just know it. It'll be public. Everything is supposed to be told to that. That'll get public. And then after that, when it actually goes live, dude, I'm telling you, someone's going to be literally live streaming it as it goes live because Nintendo has nothing legally in place to stop any of it. So,
yeah.
So I'm not too worried about it. Next week, we'll have a lot to talk about with this topic and what this crazy thing could be or is. I mean, I think a lot of the initial reaction is just going to be, what? That's what it is? Like, it's going to be, is it just out of left field or is it just something that people expect? Like GameCube is something people are expecting. If it's that, okay, cool. Why are we so like, hey, Stash, you're playing it. Why the hell do we need to test this thing? We didn't have to test the N64. Like what? Well, this is kind of weird.
Yeah, that was the other point. I'm glad you brought that up. That was something I want to mention too, is that we've never done that. There's never been testing for any of the other consoles. So why now?
Yeah, that's what makes me doubt that it's like GameCube unless it's streaming. But then the 2.2 makes me think it's not. So if it's local GameCube, I don't know why we'd be testing it. It makes no sense to me.
I do think GameCube's coming.
Oh, sure.
To NSO. Absolutely. And I think it would be on Switch 2, hopefully Switch 1 as well. I don't see why not.
I can see that being advertised as a feature for literally launch of Switch 2. We have GameCube there, so the extra games to play at launch that maybe you can't do on Switch. And then that's why they want the GameCube controls ready to go, because they're going to...
Let me ask you this, though. If we get GameCube, does that mean we finally put to sleep the Twilight Princess Wind Waker HD? Does that mean we have to put it to sleep now?
No.
Or does that still live? You know what I mean?
Because Metroid Prime got a...
No. I'm going to say no, because it's going to be Twilight Princess and Wind Waker 4K.
Well, I would love that, yeah.
Like, at this point, just delay it and let it be 4K. Just do it. I get that on my local screen, it's, if you're playing handheld, it's still HD. Okay, fine. So HD here, 4K. When I dock that bad boy, let's go. Zelda in 4K, like not through mods, would be sick. Oh, you're like, she's like getting excited. Like, oh, yes, I would take that.
Yeah, it'd be amazing. So you're saying if we played it on the GameCube NSO, hypothetically, it would be 480p.
That's the thing.
You know what I'm saying?
They do upscale a little bit.
Yeah, so it's Twilight, of course. Sometimes people forget that came out on GameCube.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was both Twilight and Wind Waker. So if we played it on the GameCube NSO, do you think Nintendo would be comfortable giving us significantly lesser versions of the game and then saying, oh, if you want the good version, you can go buy it.
Well, I think
I just don't know if they do that.
I think it would be like 720p, 1080p, maybe, but just like a base, little upscale there like they do with all the NSO stuff. But it's still gonna be 4:3. I don't think they're gonna give you the widescreen.
Yeah,
like there'd be something like that. Leave that out, and it just stays 4:3 because GameCube was mostly 4:3.
Yep.
They'd probably exclude like 1,000-Year Door. Like, there's no reason for them to offer that.
We should say that, but didn't they put Link's Awakening on NSO, and they remade that? Like that's the thing. Like they don't care because here's the thing, it's about the sub, baby. You want to go play the OG? If you get like even just like 2 extra subs, they're like, all right, it was worth dumping a ROM.
Yeah,
we're not telling something that's like hard for them to do. It's just once they have the emulators ready to go. So it's kind of NSO is just all about that value proposition and just getting people. It's about long term. Nintendo. Here's what I'll say about this test next week. Whatever it is, Nintendo's taking NSO seriously. I think when they first launched it, they weren't really sure, like if people were going to be all into it, and they got a lot of flack, and it was missing features that Reggie Fils-Aimé promised. Anyone remember on the phone app, we were supposed to be able to go in and do calendar invites and set up play dates with our friends? That was the thing. Reggie said it out loud that you will be able to do this on our paid online service. No, we cannot. In fact, we can't even talk to our friends. It's like they don't exist. So I think that this just tells me they're taking NSO seriously now, because look, they got a pretty big install base. I can't remember what the exact numbers were at the last financial meeting, but they got a pretty big install base on NSO, and it is the cheapest of all the services, and it's going to keep growing as long as they keep adding more and more to it. So I feel like whatever this is, they feel like this is a big thing that could take NSO subs to the next level for them. So I'm just happy to see Nintendo's taking it seriously. Now the problem is, if this is all about online stuff, after all, it's called Nintendo Switch Online. Nintendo doesn't have the greatest record dealing with online features. I'm a little scared. Whatever this is, they're going to Nintendo it, and it's just not going to feel good. I don't know. I maybe I shouldn't be scared, but I just. Remember, we had voice chat on Wii. You had to buy a little Wii Speak and put it on top of your TV. That seems smart. Let's just open your entire neighborhood to being heard by this thing. The headsets have been around for a while, man. You could just no headsets allowed. Okay, got it. Bluetooth.
Yeah, that will be interesting. Like, because they innovate with hardware and they innovate with games. They don't really innovate with like online stuff. So I doubt it's going to be a brand new thing, but like,
who knows?
Who freaking knows?
What is Nintendo doing?
I know.
Why are they inviting 10,000 people from the public to test some online thing for expansion pass members? I don't get it. Why are they being secretive about it? I just don't.
Yeah.
Nintendo. Man, watch. You know what it is? I figured out what it is. VTubing. That's it. It's just you get to become your favorite Nintendo characters, record videos, and talking as them.
Okay.
Huh. By the way, that would be a totally Nintendo thing to do.
They would.
Like, I can see Nintendo doing it. We got an alarm clock. All right. I mean, maybe you guys are about to test the Nintendo toaster. Maybe that's coming up here. All 10,000 until 20th are going to be told you got to enter your address. They can send you the toaster. It's an accessory. All right.